The purpose of these lessons is to show you the logic behind the most basic Chinese characters, beginning with the simplest pictograms, and later combining these elements to create more complex characters. Today's lesson includes 7 characters, all of which contain a wooden pole, a cane for support, or a farming tool, such as a rake or scythe, depending on where it appears. First, let's look at the ancient auricle bone pictogram, which appears to be some sort of support. From a simple T shape, it became distorted into an odd-looking Arabic number 3. It's pronounced third tone, kao, kao, and enters into the composition of many characters, especially as a pronunciation clue. Other than as a phonetic element, we don't need to remember it. So today's first character combines this phonetic with the mouth radical to create another third tone ideogram pronounced ke, ke. This new character is a farming implement, like a scythe, with a human mouth underneath, meaning to sing while laboring in the fields, resigned to one's lot in life. This accepting attitude gives ke its most basic meaning, to be willing, to permit, to consent, especially when used with a character we learned earlier, yi, meaning to use or take. Together, 可以 means I'm willing to take it, to accept it. Its negative, 不可以, of course, would be the opposite. You may not, you cannot, I will not allow it. 可以 serves as an important auxiliary verb in Mandarin. Some examples. 你可以走了. You may leave. Notice the change of situation particle 了, meaning I've made the decision that you are now free to go. By the way, you will see that I've added green arrows to indicate when multiple third tones come together, causing some characters to change to second tone. Asking someone for permission would begin with 可以不可以, or its contraction, 可不可以. The yes affirmative response is 可以, and the negative no is 不可以. Yes and no in Chinese will usually repeat the verb used in the question. Our next example is a parent telling a child he may not travel abroad due to his young age. 你太小了, 不可以出国. Then we have 可 used with nouns to mean suitable or fitting, such as the adjective phrase 可口, meaning tasty, good tasting, an understated way to say acceptable to our mouth or palate. Not surprisingly, Coca-Cola used this phrase to create its Chinese brand name, 可口可乐, meaning roughly tasty and pleasurable. From a marketing standpoint, it's an ingenious combination. Our next example is 可 combined with 能 from lesson 18 to express possibility. 他打人是不可能的. She wouldn't hit anyone, that's impossible. Notice the 是的pattern for emphasis. The word order could also be switched around with the same meaning. 他是不可能打人的. By adding the character 是 right after 可, we have a translation for English however or but. 他出手要打我, 可是我闪开了. She tried to hit me, but I dodged out of the way. Our last example with 可 shows emphasis, literally allowing or refusing to allow something to happen. If we're at the zoo and you're curious to visit the reptile section, I could refuse to accompany you, saying, 你去看蛇, 我可不要. You go see the snakes. I'll stay here, thank you. That's not for me. Here is a possible sense development for this character, 可. The second character in today's lesson is double, 可, double singing in the fields. In other words, repeated singing. Pronounced first tone, 歌, 歌. Now for a history note. Agan was a Mongolian word for any man of one's father's generation that the Chinese borrowed and pronounced age. Later, this word for father shifted to refer to one's older brothers, which is what it means today. And the verb to sing added a new element and became a different character. In many languages, words for family members are often double syllables derived from baby talk, such as mama, papa, mommy, and daddy. Spoken Mandarin is the same, so 哥哥 means older brother. When there are more than one, the eldest is called 大哥. After that, they're numbered, 二哥, 三哥, etc. Our next character is the original idiom of a laborer carrying what looks like a scythe over his shoulder. His open mouth indicates that he is either singing or possibly wheezing and out of breath, questioning the heavens why his life is so hard. This new character is pronounced second tone, 和, 和. Keep that image in mind, questioning the heavens, because this character is usually reserved for asking questions: who, what, when, where, how, and why. As for questions, there are plenty, beginning with 目的何在? What is the purpose of doing this? For what purpose? 有何不可? Why not? Literally, what is there that does not allow this? 何止3000本? Far more than 3,000 copies. Literally, why stop at 3,000? It's far more than that. 你何不早问? Why didn't you come out and say so? Why didn't you ask me before? 王太太何时回国? When will Mrs. Wang return from abroad? 你何不出国玩一玩? Why don't you go abroad and have some fun? 去日本玩玩, 你看如何? Take a trip to Japan. What do you think? Literally, how do you see it, this idea of mine? Or here's a sentence between two women discussing having children. 不要生子, 何止你, 我也不要. You're not the only one who doesn't want kids. I don't either. Again we find the phrase 何止, literally, why stop at just you? I'm included in that group too. Our next character is the character for river or stream, that three-drop water radical with 可 as phonetic. Also pronounced second tone, 河, 河. This character originally referred to the Yellow River, but was extended to become the general term for any waterway, especially in conjunction with the character 流 that we learned in Lesson 14. 河流, rivers or streams. The mouth of a river is called 河口, just as in English. Hebei and Henan are two Chinese provinces separated into north and south by the Yellow River. The fifth character in today's lesson is a one-legged person with a cane or crutch for support. A split sound character, usually pronounced second tone, 起, 起, but also pronounced first tone, 鸡, 鸡 in some expressions. The expression 鸡日 refers to odd-numbered days of the month. Remember that a pictogram is about one-legged man, so this character refers to odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. And just as odd or singular in English also means strange, unusual, or rare, so does this character, pronounced second tone, qi. 中国奇才 would be a rare Chinese talent, or a so-called whiz kid. The sixth character is one we saw in passing in Lesson 14 but didn't stop to learn. It's the character of a simple chair, a wooden support for the body. Pronounced third tone, yi, yi. You can see that we've come back to the original idea of carrying or supporting in all of today's characters. To tell someone to grab a chair and sit down, you would say, 找椅子坐,找椅子坐. 椅子 is another example of adding neutral tone z to create a two-syllable noun and avoid confusion with all the other e homonyms that I showed you in Lesson 14. Of course, when another character is added, the new combination becomes clear, and the z is dropped, as we find in Hebei, the back of a chair, not Hebei. The seventh and final character in this lesson places our man with a lame leg under a roof, meaning to lodge temporarily in a place not your home, or to place things in another's custody for a period of time. In other words, the person needs help or support for whatever reason. This character is pronounced fourth tone, ji, ji. Animals, plants, or insects that live in or on other living things are called parasitic, or ji sheng in Chinese, literally dependent on others to live. If that rare adjective seems less than useful, there are other more common phrases based on this idea of dependence. For example, 你的东西可寄在我家. You can leave or store your things at my house. Or even more useful is mailing letters or packages, since you're consigning them to the care of the postal service for delivery. An example, 3包书已寄出去了. 3 packages of books have already been mailed out. 寄出去了 means sent out. Here is our color chart with today's 7 characters. 可, 歌, 和, 和, 其, 以, and 记. So, what have we learned in today's lesson? 1. The basis for all of the characters in this lesson is a pole or cane for support, or the handle of a farming tool. This component, kao, appears in many combinations, but is not itself an independent character. 2. With the addition of a mouth, the ideogram 可 seems to mean singing to ease the pain of back-breaking labor, while resigning oneself to one's fate. The idea of resignation gives rise to the meaning of consent, willingness, permission. An important auxiliary verb phrase is 可以, and its negative 不可以. 3. Resignation and acquiescence leads to the idea of something being acceptable or suitable, as in 可口, part of the Chinese name for Coca-Cola. 4. 可 with 能, 可能, translates as possible, and 不可能, impossible. 5. Adding 是 after 可 means you acknowledge a different outcome than expected. 可是 together means but, or however. 我要回家, 可是她不要. I want to go home, but she doesn't. 6. Agan was borrowed into Chinese from a Mongolian dialect, originally referring to one's father's generation. This later morphed into age, and, after the Han dynasty, no longer referred to one's father, but to one's older brothers, the meaning it retains today. The original character ge, meaning to sing, was changed by adding a new component. 7. With a weapon or tool slung over his shoulder, a man slogs along, open-mouthed and breathless, pronounced he. He could be singing or calling out to the gods, asking why his life is so hard. This character originally referred to shouldering a heavy load, but is now almost exclusively used for asking questions, such as when, 何时, how is it, 如何, why not, 何不, why stop there, 何止, etc. 8. Rivers and streams are 河流, replacing the person radical of he with the three-dot water radical. He originally referred to the Yellow River, which is how Hebei and Henan provinces got their name. 9. A lame-legged person leaning on a crutch is the ideogram for support, pronounced qi or ji. This must have been a rather peculiar sight because qi means strange or unusual, and ji refers to odd numbers. 10. The common expression for a chair is yizi, yet another example of zi added to create a noun. 11. When a roof is placed over the head of our lame-legged man, we have the character qi, meaning to depend on others, just as the lame man lodges in the home of another. This character can mean to store things in a place not your own, and to send your letters and packages through a delivery service. Now you will find a short quiz on double, triple character, and longer expressions. Answer using only the characters learned so far. Thank you for watching and listening.